It's no secret that stress impacts every part of our world. We lose over $1 trillion a year due to stress in the workplace. 1 million of us don't show up for work due to the stress and anxiety we're dealing with on the average day. We lose about 5 hours per week from every employee due to managing stress. Families become more isolated and more separate. Extended stress has an impact on us that goes far beyond the individual day and can really begin to affect our overall well-being and health. We can ask ourselves, what's happening to me? Stress is a very holistic experience. It affects every part of my life, my brain, my body, my relationships, and my decisions. It really does show itself in every part of me. If we look back at the year 2020, we have a great example of how stress can bring all sorts of impact and anxiety to our lives. We had to face that everything, and frankly everyone, could be a potential threat to us and our safety and the well-being of our families. We had questions about our employment, schools, our relationships. Can I go out? Is the world safe? And all that builds up anxiety and frankly anger. Our friends in AA have taught us to look for 3 sources of stress in our lives: people, places, and things. We have to recognize that there are some folks, however well-intended, are just a source of stress in our lives. Similarly, there are places we go and situations that we get into that increase that level of pressure. And finally, the things, the tasks, even the possessions that we have, the maintaining of our home, are all sources of stress that have their impact on me. When that stress presses in on me, it begins to affect me in my body and in my mind and in my behaviors. Our body has a way of signaling to us that we're in a very stressful situation and that level of anxiety is building up. It can show as sleeplessness, loss of appetite, those aches and pains of living that should be signals to us that things are not okay. In my mind, I'll begin to have recurring thoughts. I begin to rehearse situations and fears and anxieties over and over again and start to produce that worry that is not very productive. And then finally, I begin to show it in my behaviors. I begin to indulge in things that I know are not good for me, or I begin to avoid things that I really don't want to face. So as a leader, how do I manage this roller coaster ride that I'm on? Well, the first thing is to take my own pulse. My body, my mind, my behaviors are a very important place to look as I begin to understand my own reaction to the stress in my world. I really need to move from being a victim of stress to a manager of that stress. By doing so, I become empowered and I'm not just being chased by that stress. That means I need to start building out my toolbox of things that I know work for me in managing my stress. Is it a meditative practice? Is it a timeout? Is it a good meal? Is it exercise? Things that I know work for me. As leaders, we begin to train our brain to focus on things that are more positive and more productive, and to begin the practice of disciplined thinking. One more thing, relationships are a very big part of managing stress and anxiety. Relationships are not only stressful, but they're also healing. Embracing those relationships that are helpful, that are strengthening, that are encouraging is a key part of taking care of ourselves. Successful leaders manage stressful situations by that ability to focus, by being mindful, by being thoughtful. And they're also able to meditate on the positive. The first chapter of Psalms talks about a tree that is planted by water. As we meditate, particularly on God's Word, our roots go deep and we're able to navigate the winds and the storms that happen around us. We're also able to focus on getting back to the basics, those things that will actually be key ingredients of success. They may not be the most exciting, but they're fundamental and they're foundational. And as I mentioned earlier, relationships are key. Leaders tend to isolate during times of stress. And our call is to not isolate, but to join others and ask them to join us so that there's a sense of mutual support in our work together. Remember, leadership is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So we need to prepare ourselves by eating well, sleeping well, exercising well, relating well to others, relaxing and making time to relax, and taking that time to pray and cast our cares upon the one who cares for us. 1 Peter 5:7 is very helpful. It tells us to cast all our anxieties and cares upon God because He cares for us. Thanks for watching.